This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's episode of Two Bad Hombres is brought to you by The Athletic, premium coverage for passionate Detroit sports fans. Listeners of this podcast can save 30% off the first year of an annual subscription by visiting theathletic.com/DSP. Don't miss out on a great Detroit sports website. They have writers covering all the major Detroit sports, great in-depth features. It definitely is something different than the local newspapers. You really want to subscribe to The Athletic. And if you want to save and subscribe to that great website, go visit theathletic.com/DSP.
I was trying to get it out here. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. Get it, get fly. I got 6.
And we are still not tired on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Chirco, alongside my usual sidekick and broadcast partner in fun. That is Doc from Doc and Jack, John Charles McElroon. John, how are you doing?
Vito, welcome to the weekend. Always enjoy podcasting with you. A great week of podcasting. Oh, man, the great guest that we've had earlier this week, the guest that we're looking forward to today. You got a funny guest
I do,
coming
right?
on.
Unusual. And she is funny. If you follow her on Instagram, on her IG, it's Laura versus Tinder. Laura VS for versus Tinder.
And tell us the premise of this Instagram.
I looked up, honestly, I was curious. I looked up little person dating. And I looked that up for the first time. Well, maybe I've looked before, but I looked it up this time, and I found her. There was a story about this little person. She's shorter than me, somebody that actually is shorter than me. Laura, her name is Laura Cooper. Now it's out there to the masses on the DSP Network. She had done a story with somebody like a Fox local news station in Ohio or something. Not in Detroit, not in Michigan, but did a story on her and her like battle with these guys, funny exchanges that she does post on a frequent basis, like multiple times a day via her IG handle. And she is Laura vs. Tinder, Laura versus Tinder on IG. Quite the follow, entertaining to me. And just seeing some of the crap that she has to deal with as a little person, it's crazy. She gets some dirty, vulgar, vile messages from guys. Trust me.
Is she willing to share some of the messages that
Well,
she
I'm going to
gets?
ask her. We'll ask her. We'll see what she's willing to share. I mean, we hope she is, but whatever she is willing to share, we'll let her. And anything that she doesn't want to share with us, we won't share.
Now, Vito, what was the purpose of you Googling little person dating?
Well, I mean, I'm curious. I'm a little person. So you got to, check it out. If you're a little person, you'd be checking it out too. Let me just tell you that. So obviously she has. She's on Tinder. I've been on Tinder off and on, and I'm always like deleting the app and then installing the app, deleting the app, installing the app. I think she's on there constantly, and she gets a lot of matches, like on the daily. I mean, she gets more matches than me, let me just tell you that. So she's doing pretty well for herself, and she gets some weird messages, though, from guys. Guys that you could describe as creeps, very easily could describe as creeps.
Now, in last week's Two Bad Hombres, you kind of finished the podcast sharing a story about a friend that you ran into, kind of reconnected with.
Sure.
And the issue was that she kind of decided that because he was friends with you guys and then he engaged in some cheating behaviors, she wants him to basically, when that went down, she told him during the relationship throughout the course, and you can correct the actual facts of it. She said to him, look, part of the relationship we're getting into, I want you to not hang out with any of your friends and not be part of a crew of guys. And she started to be a little bit controlling, and as a result, you and this fellow no longer were friends, and he basically lost the crew that he was hanging out with because it was, at the behest of his girlfriend. And for me, I totally don't like that. I see that all the time. You're boys with someone, you're really close friends, all of a sudden maybe it's their first time having a significant girlfriend, and the girl just doesn't let you hang out with them. Or every time that you reach out and go, hey, I want to go to the ball game, hey, I want to go to Players, or hey, I want to go to the restaurant, or hey, I want to go to the bar and watch a game, she's all up in your business and texting them and asking questions and not trusting the man. It's just, that's something I personally detest, and I'm interested in hearing your side of it. But for me, I don't like that in relationships. You have to maintain contact with your boys, and it could branch off into different conversations. But this week I went to the strip club with my friend, and we
You
did
dirty dog.
and I enjoyed it. I had a good time. Now, keep it above board, just have drinks, and we go there. The rule is, we had to establish rules, me and my wife. We go for each other's birthdays, me and my friends. So we're only allowed to go. It's a rule. It's a boundary.
On those birthdays, you and your buddy's birthdays, and that's it.
Twice a year.
Okay.
That's the rule, and nothing more, nothing less. Now, do I break it? Maybe. But I do. I think we've talked on this podcast. Sometimes I
you would like
end
to
up
break
there.
that rule often.
I end up there, and I think the notion was better to ask for forgiveness than it is permission. But for the last couple of years, it's been twice. I followed it.
Good for you, man.
And the number one thing is, if you have trust in your relationship, then there's no issue where you go and what you do. But for this situation, she told him, cut off your friends, and he did it.
Well, he cheated on his girl, by the way. So she made him cut off ties with all of us. My buddy Nick Schmiegel. There was another drop for him. Because I knew. And she said I didn't do enough to curtail it, to prevent it from happening. Is how she labeled it. So this girl gave him, my buddy, his name is Nick also, gave Nick a hand job. A handy dandy. So he got that.
Wait, hold on.
See, you don't even know the full facts.
Let's
reset it. Okay, so I was on a cruise back in college.
Yeah.
We all went out. We had a good time.
Okay.
I even got a little bit of something. I'll let you know of that. So you thought, you think I don't get anything. It happened. Something happened. Look at you. If you could get the video right now, look at your face, man. You just brightened up. So he got a little something on the side because he was dating.
Sort of.
I'll admit it. Yeah, I'll admit it. Yes, it actually did happen. Yeah, I'll admit it because you asked me. So I'll admit it. I'm authentic. I'll admit it, man.
Some endorphins were released.
Sure.
And this girl did it?
Well, what? Wait, no, it's a random girl.
A
girl that
sorry.
played. I'm going to really dive into it.
Okay.
A girl that did track at Detroit Mercy.
Yeah.
So now if anybody's listening, like, who is this girl? Right? I'm just giving you the details, man. Without the name, I'm not going to give her name, obviously. Should I?
No,
I'm joking.
No.
What did we just did, though?
Okay.
How bad would that be?
So Vito, you scandalous cat. You cheated with the
But I
girl.
didn't have a girl.
No, you didn't. I mean,
No, I was single.
you were with the
cheater.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cheating spouse now because now they're married, which is hilarious. They've recovered. I don't think they even broke up. I don't think they went on a break. They've been together ever since.
So to reset it,
Yes.
the girl that was, a little bit busy,
Mischievous. Yes.
was with the friend that got cut off.
Correct.
That's the gal that caused all these problems, and
Sure.
you're now in the mix as well. Good for you.
I was in the mix. I got some action.
I learned something. Some
But, so you learned something.
endorphins were released. Good
Yes,
for you,
even for
brother.
me.
Good
But
for you,
because
brother.
this buddy of mine had a girlfriend already, well, he got put into the doghouse and had to cut off ties completely with Nick Schmiegel and I. So unfair, probably, right? Unfair treatment from his girl. They cut off ties completely from us, and we saw him at this buddy's wedding that I spoke of last week on Two Bad Hombres, and we rekindled the flames. Like nothing ever happened. We were like smooth sailing with each other and talking like nothing ever even happened.
So you feel like, based on the way the story progressed, that she was justified in saying, "Look, you guys knew what was going on.
But no, but this
you were complicit."
But she acted like we could have removed the girl's hand from this guy's penis. The girl, Nick and I have laughed and like joked like this and laughed about it. She made it sound like that. Like Nick Schmiegel and I should have removed the girl's hand from his penis.
Yeah.
Really? Come on, Doc. That's the truth.
That's right.
Really? Would you have done that for your buddy? Would you say, "Hey, honey, would you have touched the girl's hand?
No.
Hey, get that hand. You're not going to remove the girl's hand." But that's literally, I love that you're laughing. It is funny.
Yeah.
That's literally what this girl thought we should have done.
Yeah.
That Nick Schmiegel and I should have done for our buddy. Really?
Yeah.
How is that on us? She blamed it on us. He chose to do that. He chose to be mischievous and to cheat. We didn't tell him to cheat. We did not do that whatsoever. Honestly, Doc.
Vito, I'm glad, because I don't think I've gone around and asked you, exactly your sexual prowess and things like that. But some endorphins were released, and you
I love
are
you keep
scandalous.
using the endorphins. I love you keep saying that because I know it's true. But
Molly Karam said it, and she kind of got on First Take. She kind of said that maybe Tiger Woods is not releasing enough endorphins, and that's a great way to say it. That's a great way to say it. And for you, I can understand now. We can give a little bit more credence to the girl's request in that she's not going to be comfortable anymore. That's a dilemma.
But we didn't tell him to go get his penis rubbed.
No, exactly.
Right, so it on us. We didn't say, "Hey, Nick, get your penis rubbed right there, man. That girl's willing to do
Right.
it." Trust me, she's passing out handies.
No,
like
but
it's her day job.
But the thinking is, and the reason why this happens is, girls get insecure because then she thinks and she knows, oh, you know what? If it's going to happen again, these guys might be encouraging it.
It'll be with us. Yeah, she's thinking we're encouraging it, which we weren't once again.
And I do think that's very true in that ladies think that guys and their fellas, they start categorizing, is this a good influence? Is this a bad influence? Yeah. And girls want to eliminate as many bad influences as possible. And it makes it hard sometimes to keep friends, and it makes it hard sometimes to keep relationships. But in terms of that, she might have some valid points.
Really? You're giving her credence. I might have to just get the hell out of here.
You're a bad influence,
right?
Vito?
You never knew that.
I never knew
Supposedly a bad influence.
Yeah.
The one time in my life, man, don't we all get a pass?
Yeah.
In life, that was my one pass right there.
Okay.
I'll take a pass at least for it, if I can get one for that
so
activity.
What were you thinking when you guys reconnected back at the wedding?
Well, we're thinking about the incident. Nick and I are probably in the back of our heads laughing because we know what they think about us, too.
Mm-hmm.
Then they tell us, oh, we wish we would have reconnected a long time ago. We've been thinking about reaching out to you all this time since we last talked 4 or 5 years ago. Do you think they really, really thought about reconnecting with us all that time? And if you did, why didn't you reach out to us and let us know you wanted to chat and hang out once again and rekindle the flames? Do you think they really wanted to rekindle the flames with us? If they really did bad enough, guess what? They would have reached out a long time ago is how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. And so going forward, have you guys unfollowed each other on Facebook?
They unfollow, yeah. The girl and the guy both unfollowed Nick and I.
Mm-hmm.
So we got, totally sent to the doghouse because of his illegal act or, mischievous act with the woman on this cruise. Like in 2015, like I said, 4 years ago now, it's going on 4 or 5 years. And they couldn't have reached out to us and said, hey, that happened in the past. We apologize for all the time that we've lost. Let's reconnect and catch up one day for coffee or for dinner. That never happened, Doc. So it's about them, right? It's a two-way street. Not just on us. It's on him and her, and even, I think, more him and her, even though I know I'm a biased man in this conversation.
So to wrap this up before we get to our featured guest, what's the best way to be in terms of being a friend, in terms of a friend to another guy when he's dating somebody? Is it just to maybe go out once a week, once every 2 weeks? I feel like right now for me, I'm hanging out with my boys maybe once or twice a month, and that's about it. Because most of the time is spent with the wife. You got to date her, and usually you're averaging about a date every 2 weeks.
Really? Are you with your wife?
Yeah, once every 2 weeks we're going on dates, and then you got to spend time with the kids.
You got kids too?
And then, and then you have other friends.
Yep.
So each friend maybe once, you got to allocate once every couple of weeks or so. Or you could just podcast every day and hang out with your boys in that vein.
Right,
too,
you and I, that's how we hang out, right? We get time
So-
to talk with each other that way by putting these mics on and discussing topics ad nauseum, silly, stupid, smart, funny topics.
So advice is start a podcast.
Start a podcast. You can chat with your buddies whenever you would like to.
Exactly. So, oh my goodness, Vito, what a topic.
Well, you didn't expect it to go off the rails like that.
No, I did not. So let's get to our guest. What's her name again?
Laura Cooper. I know a few other Coopers too, but this is Laura Cooper, famously of Instagram, Laura versus VS for versus Tinder.
Okay, we'll get Laura right on the phone right now.
And now joining us on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres for some fresh feedback on Tinder is Laura Cooper of some Instagram fame in Laura versus Tinder. Laura VS Tinder. Laura, how are you doing?
I am peachy. How are you?
Well, great. I'm doing peachy as well. And you know what? I've never had a fellow little person on these airwaves. So, Laura, thanks for joining me. And you are the first ever other little person joining us on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
I'm so honored.
What an honor it is. I know. What a pleasure. And, speaking of pleasures, Tinder, let's get right into it. And how the heck did you end up joining Tinder yourself? An app that I've been on, I've got to admit, here and there, I delete it, install it, left and right all the time. How about yourself?
I mean, mainly I downloaded it just to see what kind of crap I would get because I had had dating apps before and they were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew it was going to be like terrible, but terrible squared. It was mainly just I was bored one night and downloaded it, and now it's turned into this ridiculous production.
Well, I think it's honestly cool what you do. You post these exchanges you have on Tinder with these guys. Some of these guys are creeps, I think. I mean, they're vulgar, they're vile, they go right at it, I guess get to the point, and they're over the top. But I love your responses. They're sarcastic, they're witty, and I love the sarcasm. So, I mean, how did you end up getting the idea of posting these exchanges with these guys via Tinder on your Instagram?
Because I was posting them on Facebook, and all my friends were like, this is insane, more people need to see this. So then I figured Instagram was going to be the way to do it, and so far it seems to be working okay.
So early on, some of the messages you would post would be of what guys would send you and things like that. What was your initial thoughts when you started seeing what guys would be willing to direct message another human being?
I really wasn't surprised because I had gotten weird fetishizing messages on like OkCupid and I even get weird stuff on Facebook, like people that don't know me, and I guess they somehow track me through like the Little People of America group or something. I don't know. It's all just weird. It's like they're bloodhounds for short people.
Yeah. It appears that way. I mean, looking at your messages, too, at times. And, I mean, it's tough out there, I think, being a little person and going on a dating app. I mean, overall-wise, for you, via Tinder, other dating outlets and apps, what have the experiences been like for you? And, I mean, I guess overall-wise, how tough has it been for you?
Oh, they're all awful. I mean, because right now I have. Let me open my phone. Let's see what apps I have on my phone right now. So I like to compare them all. I have Coffee Meets Bagel. I don't get anything on there at all. Okay, Cupid is crap. Tinder is obviously complete and utter flaming garbage. Bumble, I'm lucky if I get a response from any guy, and I'm like, I'm trying to be real here. It's fine. And then the one that I really had hope for was Hater, because you match based on what you hate, and I don't think enough people are on Hater. And then Plenty of Fish might be as bad as Tinder, because it's a lot of, I guess they're more crude and profane if they're looking for hookups, but I don't know why they think that I'm going to humor them if they're just wanting to bang a little person. So I think if you're going to start with that, you're not going to win.
And these people have those little person fetishes. And I guess especially for little person women. I mean, I guess you get that more than me. Oh, yeah. I've had my experiences on Tinder. I don't get that kind of crap, which I guess is good. It's a blessing in disguise, or just a straight-up blessing, where you have to face all this crap, get these negative messages sent your way, these guys being vulgar, crude, and realistically, once again, right to the point. And I can tell you're a person, you don't want to deal with all that crap, but you're bound to, I guess, when you're on these social media / dating apps, such as Tinder.
Yeah, and it just in general just seems very creepy to me, because the way they phrase it, I would just love to toss your little ass around. Really? That seems really weird. Well, not at all appealing.
No, I don't think that's appealing at all either. I think it's creepy. I think it's rude. And it's over the top. But I guess, you know what? On Tinder, on these different dating apps, you're bound to get weird, creepy messages from dudes. And dudes, I mean, I'm a guy myself. I'm a dude. I mean, I know we can be a little bit creepy, but that creepy, God, it's like, get away from me and let me get off Tinder and I guess find another means for dating. And overall-wise for you, is it tough out there for you, dating-wise, outside of a dating app such as Tinder?
Yes and no. I guess I've realized I'm just overly picky too. I've gone on dates with guys recently, and it's just, they've all been very nice. And I guess part of it is, I always wonder in the back of my mind if they're just hiding the fact that they've always wanted to bang a little person. Because it's been so rampant and so common that, now I almost, don't trust anyone. So it's just, and it's kind of sad. There are plenty of decent people that don't have this fantasy, but I don't know. It's kind of skewed my view of men in general, and it's not so happy.
Okay, so a couple extra challenges you're facing is you definitely want somebody that you can have a connection with. One, you're trying to avoid somebody that just wants to live out a fetish, and two, you're just trying to avoid somebody that is curious or that is maybe a creep, and just sending out messages just to get maybe a reaction out of you. Okay, and so what are you looking for? What are you looking for in particular? What would make Laura a happy person?
We want to know now. We're going to get right to it, Laura.
Oh, okay. I mean, someone who could dish my shit right back at me would be great. Because I mean, I obviously I have sarcasm, and I have a weird sense of humor. So if someone could just toss it back at me, that would be great, and not just put up with me. I don't know. I like some witty back and forth. I don't know. I'm picky, and then I'm not. I just want someone who can, I don't know, deal with me.
Well, I love that you can dish it right back. I think some guys do like that. So, I wish you the best of luck with that. And, seeing all these different exchanges, Laura, I've seen many of your posts now, and you post daily stuff, multiple posts a day. Yeah. I love keeping track. It's highly entertaining to me. It's highly entertaining, trust me. And with all that being said, what's the worst experience you've had on Tinder or another dating app that you're willing to share today with my listeners and I? Are we going to say offensive messages, or where I was actually counting on meeting someone and they stood me up? Well, there we go. I mean, if you're willing to talk about both, whatever you want to discuss this week on Two Bad Hombres, totally up to you, Laura.
At this point, I don't give a shit. So, I have been talking to someone on Tinder for a few months, and he's actually got a form of dwarfism as well, and he lives in another state, and I drove with a friend to that other state, and he was all excited to meet me, and then when I got there, he had excuses for every single day as to why he couldn't hang out. So I didn't actually get to meet him, even though I was in his city for 3 days.
Oh my
God! So that was a shit show. So that, I mean, at least I got to do a road trip with my best friends, and it was nice. It was fun. We got to do all kinds of crazy shenanigans, but that was a bummer because like I finally let down my guard and was willing to meet someone, and I got stood up. So that was cool.
Okay, Laura, what state do you live in?
I live in Ohio.
Okay, so you live in Ohio. People message you, just off the cuff on Tinder. You post it, and then what's been the response like in the comments? Because I've yet to go to the page. I definitely will check it out. What do people comment? Do they shame the people?
Largely, it's women who are offended on my behalf.
Gotcha. And so you post the name of the person sending you the message?
Yeah, I leave the name, but I blur out the picture because that's. I mean, at least there's that, because people on the internet are crazy. So I just, at least leave the name. Although apparently there was one guy that did not like that I left his name. He found me via the Upworthy article that was written about me in November. He found me on Facebook and messaged me like, I don't appreciate that you posted my screenshot on your Instagram. Can you please take it down? Like, your name is Andrew. That is the most common damn name on the face of the planet. I'm not taking it down. Actually, I didn't respond. I just blocked him. But I didn't take it down because, like, no. Absolutely not.
Well, based off of a first name. Yeah, first name's not going to lead to the guy being found out and where he lives at and people tracking him down right and knocking on his door.
Yeah. He was like, I didn't give you permission to post that, and it wasn't really me, it was my friend. I was like, bullshit.
Yeah. Well, guys will they'll give the lamest excuses too, right? And like that guy that I guess technically catfished you, stood you up like that, and I think you got to fear that nowadays too, right? With these dating apps too, being catfished, right? Having somebody that says there's something else that they're not, posting photos on their Tinder app of somebody else and saying it's them. I guess you have to fear that as well. And I guess you've kind of had that experience. And I mean, talk to me about that and the fear of that for you, being catfished by somebody as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really too worried about being catfished because in general, people who catfish are really terrible at keeping up with it. What's funny is that most guys think that I'm a catfish, so they immediately ask for like Snapchat or text, and I refuse on any of that because I don't want to see their dicks. But like they're like, well, you just seem too good to be true. Like you're a little person, or or if when they're being profane, midget. But like they just think it's too. I've multiple times they've told me it's too good to be true. What?
And using that term midget, is that vile? That is very vile to you then as well. I know you said it's profane. I think for me as well, it does get to me, probably not as much as when I was growing up and a young lad, but still when you hear it, I don't like hearing it.
No, it just feels abrasive to me. And it's obviously that they're about the height and not about the like disability or like disorder. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't like when you refer to me as a little, I don't really like little person either because it seems kind of diminutive. Like really, I'd rather just be a person with dwarfism because that's what I have. That's my diagnosis. But like midget, definitely, it always sets my hackles up as soon as I say that on Tinder. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is gonna be good. I know.
Adios to that guy, right?
Like very rarely do they say the word midget and then it turns out to be respectful ever.
Oh, it's not.
Like, never.
No.
Like it's always gonna be followed by something rude. So, I mean.
Now, Laura, what's most important to us here on Two Bad Hombres is did Vito send you a profile picture? Do you know what our co-host Vito looks like when he messaged you to come on this podcast?
Well, I mean, I did some internet sleuthing, so I know what he looks like.
Oh,
okay,
good.
Good.
Okay, good.
So,
good to hear.
Okay, as somebody now who has a profile, what do you think about Vito in terms of his appearance, his demeanor, and the nice guy that I have co-hosting this podcast? How would you rate Vito in terms of his appearance?
I feel like he shouldn't have a problem finding a lady.
Wow, very nice. Thank you, Laura, for that. I appreciate that sentiment being expressed. I know Doc feels that way as well, but I have my struggles, and I guess we all do. And then if, you're shorter than 5 feet tall, it makes it even harder. And when you're a guy, a guy especially, let alone a female like yourself. But go on, Doc.
How would you describe Vito? Would you say he's a handsome, young...
Like, you mean
Yeah, what description would you say is best for Vito? A handsome young journalist looking for love, or how would you best describe maybe a profile that he could write?
Oh, you're saying
page?
to an interested female. He's saying
Yes.
to an interested female. It didn't start off that way, Laura, but now we've got it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So how I would sell you.
Yes.
Okay. Let me think. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, on the spot, that's tough. That's a good question. No, on the spot, you have to think about that, too.
Give me some time and I can send you a message later. But
Yes.
There we go. And I know Doc would love to see that as well. And now, one other question. I know the last one for me here, Laura, for you is, do you think a person that's under 5 feet tall, dealing with dwarfism, can truly find love, can find true love via a dating app?
Unlikely. Because I think, it happens. Like, I have a friend who met her long-term boyfriend via Tinder, and he's average height. So, like, obviously it happens. But all the other little women I know have issues. And actually, a lot of the dwarf guys I'm friends with have issues dating. And, everyone's tried apps, and it's just because apps are so based on physicality right away. Because, you just see the picture. You don't really pay attention to the profile. So, like, if someone is not your ideal, and I'm someone's ideal if they have a fetish. So if, like, physically, like, if I'm not someone's, like, a sane person's ideal, they're probably going to swipe left. Because, like, I'm just, like, there's so many people to swipe on. Like, I'm not someone's physical ideal, so they're going to swipe left. But I don't know. I had another train of thought I was going to go on. I just already forgot it.
Oh, it's all right. I do the same thing when I'm talking. But anyways, it's tough for all of us out there, and I think you're right with the bios and the descriptions on these dating apps, Match.com, no matter where it may be, no matter what app you're utilizing. I think when it comes to the bios and the descriptions, people aren't really looking at that when they're swiping right on Tinder or swiping left on you. They're looking at your physical appearance and solely that most of the time. And I think especially guys, once again, being a guy, I know how guys think, obviously. I think I do at least. And I know a lot of dudes, when they're looking at a female on Tinder on one of these dating apps, they're swiping right or left just based upon that girl's physical appearance. Sad but true.
Right, exactly. And in general, if you're a little person, you're not anyone's physical ideal. And then I also weirdly get a lot of guys who seem kind of decent, but then they're like, "Are you sure you're really interested in me? Aren't you only interested in dating other little people?" And I'm like, "Where would you get that?" Like,
yeah.
So I feel like there's also like some assumption that they all think I should be with my own kind or some shit, and that also bothers me. I'm like, that's not your call.
Well, you know what? You have a heck of a personality, and I think that's important as well. Should be even more important. So, hopefully that paves the way for you with a great relationship in the very near future.
We'll see.
Where can people find the Instagram account and your anywhere else on Facebook or Twitter?
My Instagram is Laura versus Tinder, so VS Tinder. And then in general, if you want to find me on the internet, all of my handles are Larcasm, so LAURCASM, like sarcasm, but with Laura.
I like it.
Because I'm so funny.
Well, you are. No, you're very interesting. You're very catchy with your phrases, and I think you have a great sense of humor. And I love following you once again on Instagram. So I'm going to keep following you, and let's stay in touch.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for all the time. Have a great day, and we'll talk again soon.
Well, Vito, that was quite interesting. Laura, you can follow her on Twitter at LauraCasm. On Instagram, it's Laura versus Tinder. Very interesting stuff there. Enjoyed the conversation. Had some laughs. But, I think her premise is definitely correct. It's hard to find romance on the internet, especially via Tinder. So, unfortunately, she gets a bunch of nasty messages. But in the end, she turned it into a positive, and it's entertaining for her. Hopefully, she can find a way to monetize it and maybe have some fun with it.
Right? What if you can monetize that too, man? And there's some big bucks that she could be rolling in, You never know.
All right, let's take our first time out. We'll come back. We'll talk about, in the second half of the podcast, Ed Werder made some news. The reporter kind of came out and maybe stuck his foot in his mouth regarding SI hiring practices and things like that. We'll talk about that. And we'll finish the podcast talking about Landon Donovan being a sellout. Stay with us. You're listening to Two Bad Hombres on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Vito, I want to tell you about our host site, Podomatic.com. We've recorded 1,000+ podcasts on this platform, and we've only used one host site, Podomatic.com. Why do we use them? Super quick, easy to use. When we have great, fun guests like Laura on, we got to send them quality links. Imagine if Laura clicked on the link and nothing came out, and she'd be like, I wasted 20 minutes and I can't hear my audio? No. The reason why we have great guests every single week, like Dr. Tommy John, earlier this week is because we have a great host site. Podomatic is super easy to use. We record podcasts every single day. Take that great audio, upload it to Podomatic. If you're starting a brand new podcast, we recommend one host site alone, Podomatic.com.
And Doc, back here on Too Bad Hombres, we had an interesting convo, to say the least, with Laura Cooper of Laura VS Tinder on Instagram. Love her. She's a must-follow. Trust me. You will be weirded out, intrigued, and I think get a laugh or two out of her post. I mean, she's posting stuff every single day. And now, moving on to a newsworthy note that really has gained some steam in recent memory because of the World Cup, and that is Landon Donovan. Now donning some Mexican garb for Team Mexico in the World Cup, and because he got paid through a commercial ad, like it's for a commercial spot, right? Didn't he sign up with somebody to wear the Mexico garb? And tell us more about it, and then we'll get our thoughts about that topic too.
Wells Fargo has worked with Landon Donovan in the past, and so he's getting paid, and he went out on Twitter and kind of put out a scarf. He was holding up a scarf, and it says, my second team is Mexico, in essence. And it kind of sent everybody up in arms going, whoa, you sold your patriotism for money? And people were highly upset, as well as the fact that Mexico has done some things, and it's a heated rivalry, United States versus Mexico, when the United States has gone down to Mexico to play in different tournaments and various events. Mexican fans have been not so gracious. And so people are upset that an American, a member of the U.S. national team in the past, went out there and supported a different team for money. But for me, I don't look at it that way. I go, you know what? If we're going to place judgments on what people do for money, when somebody's offering you money, and sometimes the money that's offered is substantial, then, you know what? Holding up a scarf and saying, look, United States is not in the tournament, so there's one caveat. You know what? What would be the harm in supporting Mexico? So for me, I'm not highly offended by it because I do understand that we live in a capitalistic society. It's not that big a deal. But at the same time, we put out on our Twitter page earlier this week, we said, hey, would you be willing, if you're a Michigan fan, to wear Ohio State stuff for $10,000? I would say 6 out of 10 people, 60% of people would take that offer. You turn down significant money and you would not wear it, so you're a loyal fan. Most people that responded said, I couldn't live with it. I couldn't live with myself. 1, 2, my friends would rip me apart. And Landon Donovan took some. Carlos Bocanegra came out on Twitter and said, are you serious right now? People say it's vile and disgusting that Landon Donovan would do such a thing. I don't have a problem with it. Look, in terms of people's money, I don't get involved. I don't care, when people make decisions. It is a little bit worthy of debate and talking about it, but you know what? If he goes out there, if the United States was in the tournament and facing Mexico and he did that, it'd be a little bit more egregious. But to do it, you're helping out a sponsor. Maybe you're continuing to build a relationship. Look, everybody's got to get paid. Landon's no longer part of the U.S. team. His career is now over. So to do it, I don't think it's a big deal.
And I love this tweet, too, coming from Scott Anderson on Twitter, @ScottGoLions. He tweeted out, I would tattoo your logo on my ass for $10K.
Exactly.
So you offered me a lot of Benjamins, and I did not take the offer whatsoever. I said, hell no to you multiple times. You kept bringing out the $100 bills, and I said, hell no, every single time. Because, not that I'm a huge Michigan fan, but I don't like Ohio State. I can't deal with Ohio State. Will never wear their garb, the scarlet gray. Can never do it. Never will don Ohio State colors. Never. I promise you that. Now, Landon Donovan doing this, also, don't you think it's spiteful? Like he's doing this out of spite for the fact that he was left off the 2014 World Cup team? Don't you think it might be because of that? Jurgen Klinsmann, the head coach, and then now the ex-Team USA head man, he decided to leave him off the Team USA roster in 2014 for the World Cup. So because of that, I think also Landon Donovan almost had the right to do it, and I can see why he did it because of that note as well.
Listen, that might be part of the reason, but I think the biggest reason is, hey, I'm helping out a contributor, a sponsor.
And money speaks, right? It's a money grab, too. And money speaks largely to a lot of people, including you and I, and we need more of it. We do. We always do. Everybody's always looking to grab a little bit more money. And think about how much you might have gotten paid for that, too.
I would say Wells Fargo might be wrong for having, paying someone to say, I want to represent a different country, because people would react.
It's weird. It looks bad, maybe PR-wise, yes, for Wells Fargo.
Yeah. But,
maybe even, we didn't even talk about that. Like, nobody's even brought up that topic, but
yeah,
it could look worse, actually. It might look worse, right, for Wells Fargo than for Landon Donovan himself, who's received a lot of criticism, right? A lot of blowback for that decision to take up Wells Fargo on that offer. And I think a lot of people, though, once again, in defense of Landon Donovan, would have done the same thing. And especially when you would have left off the Team USA World Cup roster 4 years ago. They had a large, I think, factor in why he did this as well. On top of, or below the money a little bit, but I think it still had a large factor that he was left off that Team USA roster in 2014.
Before we finish the podcast talking about Ed Werder, what would you do that would make you the most uncomfortable for $10,000?
Oh, God. Wow.
Would it be eating something gross, or would it be like donning an opposing uniform? What would be the thing that would really highly upset you in terms of doing something that you would feel uncomfortable for money?
It would be hypocritical of me to wear like a Boston Red Sox uniform because I do not like the Red Sox whatsoever after what they did to the Tigers in 2013. I've always kind of despised them anyway, so if I were to wear Boston Red Sox garb, out of nowhere for like $10,000, I would feel guilty. I would feel dirty wearing that jersey, man. I would want to burn that thing right after I wore it. Now, would I do it for $10K? I mean, God, I'm in loan debt up the gazoo. I better be doing it. I'd be stupid not to. I could use the money. But, I mean, how bad would I feel? I would feel pretty darn bad and guilty and filthy after wearing a Red Sox uniform. So I would say something like that for $10K, or eating something disgusting. Think about eating something that's like, God, just potent, just disgusting, absolutely disgusting. And I guess I can't think of something right now, but something just that sticks out there that, like I said, has a bad smell, or, nobody else eats, and then you're forced to eat it. For $10K, would I do it once again? Probably I would, to help pay off my loan debt once again, because I'm in loan debt up the gazoo, to use that phrase once again. But it would take the $10K for sure. I would need to see that money like up front right then and there to be able to eat something that I don't like, and to especially wear that Red Sox uniform.
Okay, now to finish the podcast, Ed Werder kind of caused a Twitter storm when he replied. So basically, to set the story up, SI has put out on Twitter, basically, that they're hiring writers. And one of their female employees has said, look, my DMs are open. If you're a female, there's this really strong opportunity for you to get in and become a writer, become a journalist, and really open up an opportunity. Well, Ed Werder became upset and kind of said, well, wait a minute. I kind of had thought that SI would just hire the best candidate available. And so he really highlighted the fact that, wait a minute, why is SI saying in regards to this hiring process that maybe they would be more favorable to women? Well, this lady said, don't really look at it like that, but when you look at it, most jobs in journalism in the world of sports go to men. It's like 85, 90%. So really, what's the big deal? Why are you commenting on it? And he said, I'm upset because I think we're kind of limiting the potential of other candidates if you kind of put out this tweet that says, hey, women need to apply and things like that. And he said, look, I'm of the opinion that in terms of the hiring practice, the best candidate should apply and the best candidate should get the job. And people were highly upset, saying, you know what, that's the case all the time. Men are really, in terms of who has the jobs, they're really in control. And for a woman to go out and highlight that, maybe as a call to arms for more women, maybe to even apply, is not a big deal. And so I looked at it for me and said, look, I look at it both ways, where Ed Werder has a right to say that, but maybe not publicly. He has a right maybe to think it. But in the end, if you look at the facts, and most jobs do go to men, you say to yourself, is it something worth tweeting out to people? No. But in general, for me, I'm of that opinion, in that if you're a good worker, if you're a good employee, if you work your way up, then I do believe that you have strong opportunities to get ahead in this country. I'm not of the opinion that there should be quotas, or that there should be a certain number of a certain percentage of people, race, ethnicity, gender. If you're a good company and you hire good people, that should be enough. And there's so many jobs out there. I feel like you could get a quality job if you really wanted it and you waited your turn. And sometimes you do have to face adversity. I don't think that you would be happy if you realized in 5 years that maybe the Free Press hired you because you were a little person. Would you feel like in 5 years that if you got a job and maybe it was revealed in an email you weren't supposed to read, and it was revealed, look, Vito filled a quota and he got the job because he's a little person, and we wanted to have that. We wanted to have one or two little people represented, so he got the job. If you knew that, it would kind of diminish the accomplishment, as opposed to saying, you know what, I wrote hundreds and hundreds of articles every single Monday. I steadily built my audience. I did so many podcasts. I built my way up, and somebody said, hey, I recognize your talent. I want you here. I feel like that's more rewarding than saying, hey, you got the job because you're a woman or because you're a little person or things like that. I feel like, in general, anybody that gets an opportunity should get it based on their merits. And that's just my opinion on it.
Well, I want to be more than a little person. I want to stand out for more than just my height and physical features. And everybody should stand out for more than that, for more than being a woman, a man, an African-American male or female, Caucasian male or female. When it comes down to the nitty-gritty, you got to be worth more than just your gender or race, right? You got to stand out for real, legitimate, like tangible reasons day to day, and your daily life, daily job and tasks that you do as part of your job. So I'm all for that. You should stand out for more than just being a little person. And if I saw that from somebody, or somebody emailed me that in an email that I should not have read, but I did end up reading, I would feel a little bit slighted and would feel a little bit, well, I would feel a certain way about the Free Press now, all of a sudden. I'm thinking now, wow, you're just hiring me, and you stuck with me for 5 years because I was a little person, am a little person. I think that's the Free Press or somebody, an entity or organization looking at things in the wrong way.
In 2018, Ed Werder took some flack. It's not worth tweeting out to the masses. It's just not.
No,
because
keep that thought to yourself, even though he's being authentic. That's what he's really thinking. Twitter's all about being authentic. What's on your mind, you tweet it out. But also, always think before you speak and before you tweet. I really believe in that. I think Herm Edwards once said it famously in a symposium for rookies in the NFL. He said it to the rookies. He said, think before you press send on Twitter, on all of your social media outlets. And this is coming from a widely acclaimed, highly credible reporter. He knows better. He should not have tweeted that out. And it looks like he was being a bit sexist. I know he didn't mean it to be taken in that way, but guess what? A lot of people inferred that he was being sexist right then and there in that tweet.
So Ed Werder, esteemed journalist, I think, will probably regret sending it because a lot of people will be upset with him. But in the end, I do think getting a job on merit is something really important, and people just have to continue to work hard, and sometimes it takes a lot of hurdles to overcome to get what you want. So I do think people are looking at the inequality of how many women are in sports jobs. But if you work hard, go with the notion of, look, work hard, do your absolute best, develop relationships, and by and large, more people will have success than trying to fill quotas.
Well, what you get in life should be based on merit every step of the way, right? From day one of your life, you should be getting jobs and accomplishments and honors and awards, right? Because of merit, because of your work ethic, your hard work and effort and dedication and all of the above. I mean, it has to be based on that. And when it's not, I think you're going awry and you're being erroneous in your judgment and your, qualifying of somebody in their work. If it's just based on their little person status, on them being a dwarf, you're diminishing their status with everything else that they've accomplished throughout their career, right? You're diminishing the rest of their resume and all of their accomplishments. That is my opinion, and I think a lot of people hold that opinion, and I would hope in my life, moving forward too, that not everything that I get in terms of jobs and awards or honors one day, if I ever get honors, I mean, hey, maybe I will. Maybe I will one day, 5, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. But I hope all that is based upon merit because I've deserved it. I've worked hard enough to deserve it, to get those accomplishments, to have those awards. And when that's the case, I think you're living life right and you're doing things right, the right way as an entity, as an organization. And when you're not, I think once again, you're being erroneous and judging a person just upon their appearance and giving them an award and honor just, based upon that person being a little person and keeping them on your staff for all this time, for 10 plus years, 2 decades, however long it may be. That's when you're doing things wrong and you're living life and you're doing things erroneously as an organization as a whole.
All right, Vito, really interesting, funny podcast. Thanks to Laura Cooper. You can follow her at Laurcasm, LAURCASM on Twitter, and follow her account, Laura versus Tinder, on Instagram. Good stuff. We learned a lot about you this week. Shared a lot of laughs, and that's all we can ask for on Two Bad Hombres.
Laurcasm, catchy, witty. I love that handle. She's a must follow. Definitely on Instagram, and thanks to all of you for tuning in to this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you again next Saturday for another fresh edition of the podcast. Adios.